On tonight's wrap, double disappointment out in Ireland, Brython win, and England lost. Is this been a good weekend for the Six Nations? Keep tuned to find out more. Hello and welcome to another edition of the WRRAP podcast. As ever, it's me, Harley, in the hot seat, and I am joined by the regular crew of Dan, Nick, and Hattie. How are we all doing?
Yeah, good.
Evening.
Good evening.
Excellent stuff. So quite a bit to get through tonight. So we're just going to crack straight on with our drink of the week. Just remember, this is your last chance to get some free beers with Beer 52. Just go onto the website at www.beer5252/WRRAP. Pay the postage, get yourself 8 free cans of beer. I'm not going through all the full blurb tonight. You should have heard it by now. So what has everyone got tonight? Anyone want to say anything? I think we've basically gone through all of them as we all got the same 8 beers.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got the Globe one, the Carlos Worldwide New Zealand Pilsner job today.
No,
I
I
like-
Got
actually had
clouds
that.
on it.
No, I dropped a bit of a boob really here because I drunk that on Friday night whilst watching the game. So that means I'm down one for next week, doesn't it? But there you go, yeah, it was nice though, wasn't it?
I haven't actually had it. I was giving it a sniff.
I got Yeasty Boys, Speed Date, a Pacific IPA, and as someone who's not into really strong ales, it's a nice light IPA.
I'll
Quite
be honest,
enjoying
it's
it.
the one I thought you'd like the best out of the batch. I think that was the one I had on the first week.
I
But
got that
Yeah,
as well.
you called it right there, Ali.
Yeah. I am finally drinking the Unicorn, and I'm quite impressed because most of these haven't had the wanky bollocks, which thing we always used to. So I'm just
Oh,
going to go.
that one does have a nice bit of wanky
And
bollocks on it.
so I'm going to read this for the listeners in case they haven't didn't hear it because don't think we did ring it. So this is Tropical Unicorn. Gallop away on fluffy clouds of pillowy oats before skipping down a magic rainbow of berries: apricot, passion fruit, grapefruit, bright orange, tangerine, mango, and coconut. All courtesy of Simcoe, Citra, and Sabro hops. The ultimate easy drinking experience. For true hopheads, this unicorn just makes all your wishes come true. And that is fucking. I mean, it's nice enough. It is quite a nice fruity one, but yeah, I think I'm just
That
too much
takes
of
some
a lighter.
beating, I would say.
That is the floweriest. Well, I mean fruitiest, but floweriest blurb I've ever seen on a can of beer.
What percentage is that one? Because I've had that one already, I think.
That's only 4.1. I know. That's the only thing you really
Me
care
a
about,
baby.
really.
Me a baby, that one is, it's nothing. What the one that Hattie's got is quite light as well, I believe, on the
4.8.
see, look, I prefer something that's a bit more like a local anesthetic. But
I'd highly recommend a a Belgian quadruple, Ben, if you really want that. They usually start about 9 or 10.
Oh, God.
oh no, that'll do it. Yeah, what's the other one? Is it Jubel or something along those lines? That's a
That's a yeah,
it's a fairly strong
pretty.
one, isn't it?
So, I mean, European lagers do tend to be a little bit stronger anyway.
Mm.
But I digress. So, for once, we actually have quite a light news desk, Nick. So, do you
Yes.
fancy brushing through?
Yes, I'll give it a go. Wales and Saracens prop Rhys Carré has signed a new contract with the North London club. The 28-year-old has made 39 appearances for Sarries, including 15 this season. And you might be hearing a little bit more about this player later in the podcast. Last week, also, the Welsh Rugby Union were told that they've lost the argument over the future of the professional game. That was after they appeared before the Senate Committee for Sports and Culture. And Delys Joel, member of the Senate, has wrote to Richard Coddy-Keyword saying how disappointed she was to hear that and the WRU had no plan B. And in the view of the politicians, it almost amounted to a dereliction of duty for a sporting governing body to their members. So they're very strong words indeed. I believe it's now up to the WRU to respond to that letter, and one would hope come forward with a plan B. I don't know if anybody's got anything to add to that.
Well, the only thing I'd say on that is why wouldn't that, words that were that strong brought up at the time?
Yeah.
Because that's, it's fairly strong strongly worded, isn't it? But nobody mentioned anything that robust at the time of questioning, did they?
It was mixed. In fairness, it was much better than the Commons scrutiny. But yes, but in the Commons as well, what they actually wrote post meeting was stronger than what actually happened. And I guess this is similar. But I thought the Senate were much better. Weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they did hold people far more to account than the Westminster version.
Yeah,
In
yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
speaking of Westminster, we briefly spoke about it off air, but about an hour before we started recording, Lisa Nandy was on with LBC News, and she said that the future of Welsh rugby is a huge concern to her. Speaking about the legal action for Cardiff Rugby, Ospreys, etc. Um, and it says that the WRU insists decisions are difficult but necessary.
Yeah, we're still
Well, I
waiting for
guess
some
we'll come back
numbers
to
on that,
this.
have we?
Yeah, we haven't heard the end of this, have we?
No,
Uh,
it's
but
been
if it's
going on
okay,
for a
you
while.
yeah, I think so. But it's okay, you guys. We'll move on. Uh, we are, of course, tonight going to be talking about round 4 of the Six Nations, which has took place this weekend. But only this morning it was announced that the 2027 fixtures have now been released. So for us, it's the Blues away in 2027, starting in Paris and finishing in Rome. Yes, so that's something perhaps to look forward to in the future.
What
And that's, unless anybody's got anything to add, that's the end of my news anyway.
what day do we start in Paris? Do you know?
I think it's a Saturday. I think it's a Saturday. I think maybe Ireland have got the first game on the
Yeah,
Yeah,
Friday night.
Ireland are hosting England Friday night, and then
Yeah.
we'll be away to France on the Saturday, and that's the 6th of February.
Yeah.
We said we're up in Edinburgh for that. So talking of this, we're up in Edinburgh for Valentine's weekend. And Lee says if this or any other video on the Rap channel gets 1 million views, he's going to pay for us all to go. So if you could just watch it on repeat, just watch it. Don't even have to be there. Just keep clicking replay, walk out, go make a cup of tea or something. Because Lee has promised if we get 1 million views on this, I'm gonna just keep this on refresh. He hasn't given us a time limit either. So
no.
you can just do it a couple every day.
I wonder how many clicks we would all have to do to. Well, someone can do the maths pretty easily on that, I suppose. But yeah, surely it's got to be achievable to get this to 1 million.
I wonder if
I-
there's a Toby Carvery hotel in Edinburgh that we can stay in.
Well, I mean, most of the time it's a travel lodge, isn't it? And then there's a Toby Carvery bolted to it.
The one that I went to in Exeter wasn't. It
I
was
think I know
a
the Toby
very
Carvery as well because I drive past it all the time, and me and my wife keep going, "Yeah, we really should go for a Carvery sometime." And then we remember there's a really nice independent pub
yeah.
not far from us, which we still don't
Is
go
it
to. For
on a slightly dodgy looking dual carriageway?
yes,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the
not
one.
not far from Sandy Park. Yeah,
Yes, you can
we
walk. In fact, if anybody ever goes to that venue, you can
there's actually
stay
quite a lot
there.
of really easy ways to walk to Sandy Park, which is quite good for a venue that's pretty out of the way, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway,
just
but we're not here to
just to
advertise.
remind people, we are not actually sponsored by Exeter Chiefs yet. But
No,
we
Or
are.
Toby
If you'd like
Carvery.
to sponsor us, Exeter Chiefs, I'm sure Lee would be very happy.
Despite I said the two people talking about the most are probably the two most outspoken about Exeter Chiefs and branding and the way they do things.
However, if Toby Carvery want to sponsor us,
I could get
Absolutely.
on board with that. No
I,
Yeah.
I,
doubt.
I would
I
take
could get on
a
board
free
with that.
Toby Carvery every so often.
Oh.
yeah.
I'll wax lyrical about it.
Do you go up and have all the meats?
King size.
Oh,
So
well,
I don't, but I have tummy problems, so I just stick with the turkey.
oh no, no, I understand it's a medical thing, but it is controversial.
Yeah,
Turkeys for Christmas only. I'm sorry.
I know, but I can't eat the others.
Fortunately, I can.
Yeah, I'm very jealous, and I'm upset. The sausages upset me because you get a little sausage with the king size, don't you? And I can't eat sausages, but I do like them.
Does anyone remember the Toby Carvery Express? So I know we're going on a tangent now, but there used to be one in St David's Two City Centre, and it was basically a sandwich shop, and you'd get like you get your Carvery meat with stuffing, and then instead of like crisps or anything, you get like little roast potatoes, and it's the most upsetting thing that it's gone because I used to love that. And like if we were going to the cinema with my then girlfriend, I'd buy like 2 or 3 bags of that and I'd have that instead of popcorn. Ah, it's great.
You old romantic.
Yeah, not if you know that one panned out. Um, anyway, I think that's basically
That's
all
the
the news.
news. That's the news then.
Other than, God, can we stop making Wales Italy the last game? It's not it's not a wooden spoon decider anymore. It's usually decided by then. We've lost then. Um, yeah, I mean it's getting as
It's
bad as with
not.
the women's where they keep they put the same
Oh,
fixture every so often. Like let's have
we
some
don't need
variety.
to finish. Right. Sorry, I'm going to get on my soapbox very quickly. We don't need to finish every single Women's Six Nations with the final game of the tournament being England-France. It's very boring.
Mm.
Spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, come on. I mean, I know people will go, oh well, it's nice having a Grand Slam decide on the final
How
weekend.
do you
Well,
know it's going to be a Grand Slam decider?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing if like, oh, they picked France England this year for the men's because it was going to be a Grand Slam decider. Well, that worked out well, didn't it?
Mm.
Anyway, that's all my rant. So shall we get on to the game? So we're
Mhm.
going to start off with a topic that's talked about a lot, and plenty of pundits and stuff were saying how much better this was than particularly in the first game in England. So Dan, like you took us through the defense. Now everyone's talking about how it's been a lot better, but we still only made 80% of our tackles with the midfield miss it. Well, the 9, 10, well, 9, 10, 12, and 13 missed 11 tackles between them. Eddie James missed none. Just before the Scarlets fans at me, I am aware of this.
So really, you mean 9, 10, 12?
9, 10, 12 missed 11 tackles. So with Thomas and Hawkins missing 4 each, and then Dan Edwards missing 3. Uh, to be fair, Hawkins was missing 4 out of 19, so
Yeah.
fine-ish. But anyway, Dan, you're the defense coach.
Yeah, look, I would say on that note as well that Thomas is probably defending in different areas rather than the front line all the time. I mean, it depends on the the system, obviously, but you'd have to give him some scope for missing 1 or 2 there. But it probably is a worry that the 10-12 access has been breached on 7 occasions on the weekend. So that is problematic. What I will say is that Wales made 236 tackles. That's a gargantuan amount of work to get through on a Friday evening. In fairness to them, so you're gonna miss a few. And I would say on the whole, um, when the game started and everyone was watching it, I stuck in the group and I thought, oh, we were defending soft again. The first try was problematic for me, where we just sort of sat off, but there must have been a rocket come from the side because I thought thereafter they actually defended pretty well. It's not a blitz defense, but a high line or a high press, however you want to call it. I thought they got into um, the passing lanes pretty well and got off the line a bit harder. And it goes to show that you can defend for long periods of time and dominate collisions. Alex Mann 34 tackles, Jenkins 29, both of them 28, both Carter and Lake in the low 20s as well. That's fantastic amount of work. And Dewey Lake with 4 dominant tackles on top of that as well. So I think the boys have got used to trusting the system a little bit more. It was better. Nevertheless, we conceded 4 tries. I think, unfortunately, Dan Edwards found himself in a position for 2 of those scores where he probably shouldn't be finding himself, fairly close to the ruck, and kind of got sort of moved out the way for 2 of them. Certainly the first try and the one in the second half as well, where it's a big man against a little man and physics sort of takes over, I suppose. But on the whole, I was much more impressed with the defensive effort. I thought the line speed was far better than it has been. We weren't soft in defence. However, can we continue to make that many tackles or attempt that many tackles, 236 in a game? Or actually, it'd be more like what, 267 that we've attempted, making 236. Can we continue with our level of workload against a sort of top 4 or 5 nation? I don't think so. So yeah, on the whole, I would say much improved, much better. We were definitely hard at score against. Nevertheless, Ireland still come away with a bonus point, and I think we need to be better when we have got the ball, and still a little bit better in our kicking game in order to prevent us having to rely on making so many tackles, because there's only so much the damn wall can take before it bursts effectively, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just to add on to that, Dan, as well, I feel like Ireland made it quite easy for us to defend. Um, their attack was quite simple. They were just sending runners up straight into our men. When you're running straight at Alex Mann, what's he going to do? He's just going to chop you down. So it wasn't as if we were playing against a particularly inspired attack who were making things difficult for us. Apart from in that first 20 minutes where we were pretty poor.
Yeah, we were soft, I think, for that first 20, and that probably, made a massive. If we defended like we did for the last hour, as we did in the first 20, then we may have seen a different outcome. But I just think we can't become overly reliant now on. Don't give, and let's not forget, mind, this is Wales haven't won out in Ireland for what, 12 years?
Mm.
Yeah, arguably better Welsh teams have gone out there and
Done worse.
and done worse. So, look, what I will say is, based on those numbers alone in the defensive effort, that to me shows that they're a team you can get behind. Um, they're willing to learn, they're willing to improve, they're more than willing to put their body on the line. Alex Mann, for example, irrespective of whether you think he's, I've spoke openly on here about whether we think he's big enough or not. He's probably punching above his weight at the moment. There's no doubt, but I'd still like to see 5 kilos on him. But if someone's going to go out in a national jersey and make 34 tackles, I'll back him for the next game and the game after that as well.
Yeah.
And effectively, that when he takes, when he takes the field, he's not going to lay you down.
Mm.
And I think that's really important. I think there's been a theory that we've had a little bit of a soft underbelly, but with the improvement in the system, I think it's shown that maybe that's not the case. David Jenkins again, 29 tackles, both of them 28. I thought both of them was good again on the weekend. In fact, I thought the entire back row were. I think the second row pairing of Carter and Dav Jenkins is definitely one that I can see playing sort of 50 tests together. And long may that continue, because I thought Carter's work rate was through the roof as well. Not to mention the good work that the front row went through. So I thought on the whole it was a sterling effort, a real good performance, and I hope off the back of that we fill the stadium on Saturday, because if we can go over there and perform like that, there's no reason why, with a little bit of improvement in our attack and our kicking strategy, we can't pick Italy off on the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned Alex Mann and his number of tackles. He also made a good dozen carries, probably not
Yeah.
for the most meters. He was our third top passer. Would have probably been, the way things are going, would have been top if Dan Edwards didn't have to step in at 9. Also our key line out man. So he's becoming a real. I think this was a game where he really showed his integral part team with some of the others. So Russ Petty put out a stats, right, and it's basically he looked at how many carries, tackles, attacking and defensive breakdowns each player hit, and then worked out like per how many how much time in between each intervention. So the
Yeah.
top 5. So you've got Xander Ferguson on 66 and a bit seconds between doing either a tackle or ruck, whatever. Then it's Ben Carter, David Jenkins, and Thomas Francis all between about 70.7 and 71.9, with Matt Ferguson then finishing it up. I mean, to have 3 players in that sort of top 5, which is sort of like, all about work rate. I mean, it's one of the things Jack Morgan's known for as well. Yeah, that is pretty exciting. But Dan alluded to this, Hattie, and the attack needs work. So what did you make of our attack on Friday?
I think the best way to put it is that the things in our attack that are working at the minute don't seem to be things that are planned for or things that we should rely on. So things like Rhys Carré, his little break down the side, which we have to talk about because it was incredible, and it was just one man and his skills. And this is, the other games where he's just barreled over the try line as well. It's things like that that you need to have an international rugby to have a player that can do that, but that shouldn't be your game plan. That shouldn't be your attack plan, and unfortunately, that does seem to be that does seem to be one of our very few positives in our attack at the moment is moments like that. Um, I had a look at the stats, and we're literally down on every single attacking metric compared to Ireland.
Hmm.
They have more meters made, they have more line breaks, um, line outs. I mean, to have a worse line out than Ireland is actually depressing. Um, but yeah, they were beating us on passes, ball carries, post contact meters, line break, like literally everything. Um, we're just not. There's something missing, and I don't know whether. Well, I kind of think I know what it is. I feel like the game plan once again doesn't fit the players that we have, and the game plan that we're trying to make work isn't playing to our players' strengths. So, like Dan Edwards, for example, likes to sit back. Well, that doesn't work under this current game plan. So maybe he isn't the right 10, and obviously he was thrown into this week. We're trying to play with the dual playmaker option, and is that working? I don't know. It constantly feels like we're missing a last pass, if that makes any sense. It feels like if we had like that one final intervention, that would be the try, but we're missing it. And is it because our 10 is sitting back? Whatever it is, I feel like an attack anyway is going to take time to bed in, but at the same time, Matt Sherratt has had now two Six Nations campaigns pretty much. One and a half, I guess, if he only started halfway through last time.
I- I'd like
Can
to
I
counter
just
that one though, because how often do we actually have the same backline? Like when have we actually had what games have we had a platform for the
Yeah.
attack for any players to do? And then two, when have we had like the same 9, 10, 12, 13?
Yeah, and the
Because
thing,
like even the Six Nations, we've swapped either the 9 or we've swapped either the 10 or the 12 every game.
but I feel
And I
like
don't think it's a concession.
what I am trying to say is like it's not necessarily like Matt Sherratt's game plan is wrong here. What I'm saying is that it feels like we're cycling through players to try and fit the game plan rather than actually do we need to step back and change the game plan to fit the players that we've got? Because it feels like we're trying to sort of fit round pegs into square holes.
I can just chip in there if I may. One of the things slightly disappointing me, and it's not about individual players, and I think we agreed last week. We definitely, whether we have our favourites to play 12 and 13, there is at least we've had a little bit of continuity the last couple of weeks. 10 was a forced change due to injury. Uh, but it's our lack of, I don't know, our off first phase. And our lineout on the whole wasn't bad. I think we won nearly all our lineouts, and our scrum was certainly efficient.
Yeah,
But
Scrum was 100, not
yeah,
100%, and line out was 88%.
yeah. But we don't seem to have a launch pad which threatens other teams. And it's backing up your point, really, Hattie, is to do with organisation, shape, and bringing people in the right time. I can understand after 4 or 5 phases that it becomes a struggle for all teams, but surely we should have whatever we're trying to do our first phase it's not working at the moment. Now I don't blame individuals about that. It could be down to individuals, but that is a little bit of a concern. I think that for me is our next big work on.
Mm,
I
I agree.
look. I think the attack is. You mentioned first phase launch. I suppose the problem we've got is our big centre ball carrier is 1 out of 13, so that's a little bit problematic for the launch. I don't think we attack the seam of the line out particularly well. We just seem to go like 9 to a forward or 10 to a forward and crash them up into whatever's opposite them rather than attacking the seam.
Mm.
And then if we do look to play, it's generally we try and plate the width to try and get that edge. The
Mm.
problem you've got then if you go to an edge on first phase, it's generally backs winning that ruck because obviously the forwards are tied up in in some sort of lineup mechanism. So if you get to that far edge quickly, you lose all your backs to flow back the other way on for a phase or two because they're getting up from a ruck. So, look, I think it'll take a little bit of time. The other issue I think for me is I don't know whether 15 is the right position for Louis Rees-Zammit. I don't think we're getting enough out of him. There are some times on the weekend where Josh Adams got the ball or Ellis Mee got the ball on the edges, and I'm thinking, if that's going to Louis Rees-Zammit, he's got that extra yard of pace in those two. So I think that needs to be looked at a little bit more. I wonder whether we need more of a ball playing 15 in to kind of link play up a little bit in that those sort of squish or that layered attack where we're playing out the back, so that we can get to an edge and create that overload for Louis Rees-Zammit to have that sort of space or that opportunity 1v1. Maybe that's the option. On the Dan Edwards thing, I don't think he was terrible in attack on the weekend, but maybe Hattie's right. This, it suits Sam Costello to play to the line a little bit more initially. I don't know. Our attack was certainly more fluid against Scotland, wasn't it? I would say initially, but then we scored 4 tries against New Zealand. With Dan Edwards in there. Dan Edwards played in that game, didn't he? Yeah. So I don't, and look, players fall in and out of form as well, don't they? That sort of thing happens. So I don't think it's. I think it'll come. Whether we can change it enough in order to trouble the Italians enough on the weekend, who knows? I hope so. I really do hope so. I think it'll be a bit of an arm wrestle, but I think it's just we caught in between a little bit. I think with having our big man in at 13, because I think we're using him more and more now, aren't we? If you notice, Eddie James carries and are up into double figures, but it's always that one out. He's always that little bit further away rather than utilising that size and strength through the middle at times. So yeah, I don't know what his space. I don't think Joe Hawkins had a particularly bad game either. I thought he went okay. So yeah, it's just a progression thing. We just gotta. And look, I can't see there being any. There's no coincidence that our attack has lacked in the last couple of weeks, but our defence has improved. And when I say our defence has lacked, our attack has lacked, as in it's not been as cutting edge. But I would say they put more time into their D work because they need it to be harder to beat. See, we can't have it all, can we?
No.
This team is, especially without the defence coach until Murchie comes in. We can't have it all where they're being allocated their time evenly. And maybe Jockey's gone, yeah, we do need to be harder to beat because all well and good scoring 4 tries, but if we're going to concede 8, it's pointless.
I think that's been the problem. We haven't even been scoring the 4 tries, so we might as well limit the oppositions.
We may as well be hard to beat, and we were hard to beat on the weekend, weren't we?
And somebody made a good point in one of the other podcasts I was on, that when you're head coach, you're sort of got the oversight of everything, and if when we have the new guy as defence coach, everybody's going to be the head coach and take a step back and say, yeah, we do need to move more time on defence this next week in the lead up to the next game. They can make that call, but at the moment, Tandy's trying to, spin 2 plates, isn't he? Because the defence coach, I would imagine, will always say we need to spend more time doing defence, just as the attack coach will say the opposite. So that's where the head coach's role is more strategic, and he can make that call. Where at the moment, I assume Tandy's doing a lot of the defence setup as well.
Well,
so I think that's quite a valid point.
But yeah, and you think as well, mate, they sat around the table now last night planning this week. You've got Jockey who's wanting time with the attack and the backs.
Yeah.
You've got Tandy who's going, well, we're going to need to put some D work in, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Then they would be doing their analysis on
today.
on Italy, and then going, right, well, how do we counteract their line outs and their scrum work? So Danny Wilson's going, well, I need scrum and line out time. We need unit time.
Yeah.
Rhys Patchell, whoever it is going, well, we need to do what's our kicking strategy going to be like against them? So that's
Yeah.
taking time. There are people in recovery. There are people that are probably sort of working outside the group as well in order to get themselves fit. Then you've got gym time and all the rest that people forget. See, it's not just a case of having all day, every day on the field practicing
Mm.
practicing these things. Everybody's fighting over, the players' time, and ultimately Tandy's still part of that at the moment because he's having to do the defence work. Whereas as soon as Murchie comes in, Tandy can sit over the top of it and allocate time out as he sees fits, basically, and has the final say on it.
Yeah. But go back to your initial point, though, Dan, it's a performance we can be proud of. We had a really good performance against Ireland in Cardiff last year. Sort of backed it up. I think the score flatters up in Edinburgh, whereas I feel as if we've had two really good performances,
Yeah.
and I could see progress again. And I feel more confident. And we'll talk about the Italy game to come up, but even further ahead, I do feel as if we are making progress. And good luck to Steve Tandy and the coaches because we've had some stick from some people, but it's early days for them yet. I think it's only fair to judge them in probably the end of next year's Six Nations, if I'm honest. But I do feel as if we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I could agree more. Look, I turned the game off after we lost, and the wife said to me, "Oh, what do you think of that?" And I said, "You know, it was a proper test match."
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was a proper test match. We didn't get blown away. Yeah, okay, it was a bonus point win in the end, but they had to work for that. They really had to work for it. It was a proper test match. So yeah, good on them. Much improved, and if you can get down to the stadium next week, go and do it and back the boys because there's a victory on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go more into the Italy game later on in the show. One thing I want to say is, so I post on Blue Sky. Check it out. It's nice at Twitter, although apparently everyone who says they hate Twitter because it's too mean now says Blue Sky's too nice. So you can't win. I posted that, these. I know it was only 17 points, but that's the most we scored at the Aviva since 2018. And even then, we still lost 37-27. So it's the same margin. There have been one of the best Welsh teams out there. Remember in 2018, we started that 11, 12 game winning run. There have been supposedly better teams that have done a lot worse out there. So it's definitely one we can be proud of. I think, unlike when we had the positive Ireland game last year, we've backed it up. I hope we back it up again. But because I think if we can get the result against Italy, I think that's when we can truly say we've turned a corner.
Yeah.
But we'll go to a slightly less positive scoring, what has been one of the more positive things. So, Nick, do you want to talk us through what happened out in Cork with the under-20s?
Another place that I don't think we've got a very good record at. We've sent good 20 teams out there in the past. But first of all, I'd like to say I think we deserve to win for turning out in such an awful kit. It's probably the worst kit that any Welsh team has ever appeared.
I'm interjecting here. I think that is a gorgeous kit, and I will not judge. I will not have an Ospreys fan tell me what is a good kit after that camouflage monstrosity. Sorry, you have no opinions now. That is a gorgeous one, especially compared to the white kit we had.
Speaking of Ospreys kit, though, I always think that kit, the under-20s kit, does look like an Ospreys kit.
Oh, you're just ganging up on the Ospreys as usual.
That's all right. I'll stick up for you, Nick. I agree. I thought it was outrageous. They look like a blancmange.
We've got nice colours. I understand we have to change to play Ireland, but I'm sorry, I prefer the white kit the first team played in, or some variation of that. Anyway, each of their own. Going to the actual game, I thought it was a little bit like the Scotland-France games in some ways. It was end to end. Defence wasn't always the best. We started well, but then we lost some key moments in the game. And I'm particularly thinking of a few I think at 19-12 to Ireland, who came back into it well. We had a penalty in 35 minutes, and we missed a touch, and it ultimately cost another try down our end before half time. So instead of perhaps even going in at 19-12, even if we hadn't scored, it was 26-12. We then gave away a very soft penalty off the kickoff, which led to another try for Ireland. So at 31-12, it was probably game over. And even when we were pushing hard in the last 10, 15, we had an interception try from when we were 5 meters out, and that was a further killer blow. They're young players, and we have to give them some leeway, and they have to, but they obviously need to learn from that. It was a very typical Irish performance. It's funny how teams do play to their DNA. They flooded the breakdown. I'll be honest, I thought they got away with a lot, the breakdown as well. But good luck to them. The ref didn't call it, so they're going to do it all the more. I thought Sean Davis I had a good look at because I've made the comment last week. I was a bit concerned about the quality of the nines coming through. I thought he was good at nine. His kicking was accurate. His passing was good, and he made a few snipes around the breakdown as well to just keep their defence interested. But obviously, this is his last year. So going back to that original point, I do hope that the Cardiff teams give him lots of minutes. I'm sure he'll get at SRC level, but I really think he needs to start coming off the bench for the first team in the URC next season. So, and I know there's a number of nines already at Cardiff, but I do think he has potential. The lineup was very good again, and I think in Tom Howe, was the fourth round, wasn't it, of the, and he's been outstanding in every game. He's only just turned 18. He's got another year at this level, but if barring major injury or him really going off the rails, I think he's an international hooker of the future. There's some other really good, outstanding prospects as well, and at the very worst, there'll be very good professional players at club level. So overall, despite the loss, it wasn't a bad performance. We need to finish off the season now with a home win. That's a must. I think that's at Rodney Parade next Sunday against Italy. I think it's a lunchtime kickoff. And they need to win that. They need to win that well. And then they've got a few players injured and so on. And then they can start to build for the Junior World Cup in Georgia, late June, July. So, so overall, despite the loss, not the end of the world. And with young players, I think you just have to accept they are going to, well, all players make mistakes, but particularly young players, and don't, give them a bit of leeway as well, a bit of slack. Overall, it's been, provided we win next week, it's been overall a positive campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the thing that killed us, really, as you said, those mistakes, and we end up conceding 31 unanswered points. And I think if you do that in any level, it's, you're going to struggle to get back from it. I did see a couple of people on Blue Sky, so particularly a tangential friend of the podcast, certainly friend of the Saucepan Side Pros, Edgings, asking where Colin Legwit Jones was because he was stuck on the bench. I do have the official answer for that, and that is because he wasn't allowed to play because he hadn't caught up on his homework from playing for the Scarlets the week before. So he had to go on the bench. It's you got to get your schoolwork done, kids.
It was his mum's condition for him to go out and play. I had to finish his homework first.
Exactly, and who hasn't been like, no, you can't go out because it's tea time, or until you've done your schoolwork.
Exactly, we've all been there.
Memories fresher for some of us than others, but we'll go there. I thought it was good, and yeah, Tom. So I ended up doing the Interpro show on our sister chat, the Global Game Line, and this was off air because we didn't have a chance to talk about the under-20s, but I got asked like who to watch out for, and I said Tom Howe, and I went because the kid is the real deal. Like, and I had a mess from that Kalen, and he agreed. He's just for a kid who's not had any professional games yet. The boy looks like he's born for it. So yeah, I'm big fan then. And yeah, bit I said because unfortunately the 10 who everyone was going, why haven't we got Cardiff Legger Jones was a Cardiff boy? With Lloyd Lucas, he's played an awful lot better than that, particularly off the bench. We all have terrible times out in Cork. So I think same. But I'd still say, despite us, we probably should have been 3 from 4 in this tournament. But I still say it's a positive campaign for the under-20s.
Yeah,
I think we need to wait on Sunday though. To say that.
Yeah, I mean, the Italy under-20s has been terrible. So yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think when you look at the performances, and I suppose that's what with it being development level rugby, then it's all pointing in the right direction, isn't it? because the performances have been there. You know, okay, we went and shipped 48, and I also think as well when you see some of these um, high scoring games. I think I said this last week. Like Wales again, you know, the 20s, 48, 33. It's a massively high scoring fixture. You see a lot of this in Super Rugby, but I think more and more now, years ago, you could set a team up to be really difficult to beat. And I don't think the laws allow that so much now. It's more harder than ever to, you know, jackal a ball on the floor, you know, legally. You know, you can't escort people into to kick chases and things like this. So I think it's harder and harder to sort of keep teams, especially good attacking teams, down. Especially when they employ then a high line speed and can quickly turn defence into attack, as Ireland did on the weekend, reading plays at the back, that interception try. You know, if you're willing to be brave and get off the line a little bit, that's the sort of thing that can happen. So yeah, I think on the whole they've performed admirably well. You know, that game up against Ireland, you know, probably should have won that. You know, it's 16-0 up, was it? They should have probably saw that at home. France the same. So yeah, if we beat Italy, I would say. But again, surely though, Nick, it's one thing. You know, if we beat Italy 3-0 and it's an absolute dog's dinner of a game, we'd probably be sat here next week saying, "Oh well, performance wasn't that great." If they beat Italy and the performance is great, then yeah, it's been another positive campaign for them.
And I think what he has seen, as my point about Sean Davis is there is some talent there, and I don't want to get into this conversation tonight because we haven't got time, but it's where they go next in their development, and
This is the key. This is the key factor,
this
isn't
is
it?
key. And if we're reducing a team, there's going to be less opportunities for these youngsters. That's my view. Because, you know, let's say if the Ospreys go, you got two backup scrum halves who are looking for work. And if they end up in Cardiff Dragons or Scarlets, there's going to be even less opportunities for these youngsters. That's my view.
Agree.
I know the Cardiff Central boys were talking, particularly with, like Sean Davis, they're talking about scrum half and depth and what they're thinking. So with a lot of rumours of Ellis Bevan going, that third spot is open. And you know, I mean, coming out of under 20s, you don't necessarily want to be throwing him in off the bench every week, but for a few games, you know, there's the odd away fixture, depending on if we do make it to Champions or Challenge Cup, and you want to, then you know, if you are going to throw a game, as a lot of teams do. I think they.
Where's,
I think.
where's
I think
Tom Howe's a Cardiff boy, isn't he?
Yeah, he has already been travelling reserve for us this season.
Right.
So for the Leinster game, he was travelling reserve. There's, I think, depending on whether or not Glantav let him go, which is probably leaning towards not. They might send him on South Africa tour. If not, probably some of those other games.
Well, he's
He'll be
got his
there.
A-levels this summer, doesn't he?
Yeah, so I said I can see him not going on the South Africa tour more because of schoolwork, because stay in school, kids.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. Stay in school.
Stay in school, get the qualifications you need, then you can bugger off.
Yeah.
Just once you got just get those certificates. You probably won't use them, but get the certificate.
Rugby isn't forever.
No.
I got a 10
But
meter swimming badge.
as a young player, he's definitely got something.
He's just, Andrew Ford of, you know, those of you who know him from Cardiff Central podcast or from rugby compilation videos, is very, very proud of him as a fellow Glantavian. So,
Sorry, Dad, did you say you have a swimming badge?
Yeah, 10 meter one. You're on about certificates,
Nice.
10 meter swimming badge.
was the pool only 10 meters long?
Yeah, well, deep it was. Swim like a brick.
My dad never learned how to swim. Don't know why. Apparently, there were no swimming pools in Carmarthen. I don't know. He never learned how to swim, and so he's retired now, and he goes to the gym basically every day, and he's got a little group of friends that he's met at the gym that are all other retired men. They're sort of like in their 60s and 70s.
Nothing wrong with that, Hattie. Nothing wrong with that.
You stay
I
active.
totally understand.
Yep. So he goes to the gym. Anyway, his friends at the gym, they were going, we're going to go swimming. And he felt very left out because obviously he can't swim. And he was like, well, I can't swim, so I won't be going. And they said, oh, don't worry. Get some swimming trunks and we'll teach you how to swim. And yeah, he came home and he was really upset and he went, I won't be going swimming again.
Oh,
So
Learn when you're
it's not,
young.
it's
Learn
not
when
his
you're young.
fault. He wasn't on a fish farm, so what was the point in swimming?
why would you need to learn how to swim on a dairy farm?
Uh, so it just sounds like the sort of thing like we've got some family from out West Wales way, and it does sound the sort of thing one of them would say.
It is literally something my nan has said. You didn't need to learn how to swim. We had cows. So
Right, anyway, so if you've been enjoying our ramblings and more tangents than normal, I feel like you can tell Women's Rugby Treehouse is back because Yap City is starting to expand its limits. Please give this podcast a like, subscribe, share the audio clip with friends. That's the best way to grow this thing. Remember, we want to get this video up to a million views, YouTube listeners, because I want my free trip to Edinburgh. And Lee says you'll only do it if we make enough money on the channel. So go for that. On this channel, we've got the Car Central podcast. They've just released a thing about the new book to celebrate 150 years, which has quite strong links to the WRRAP family, as both Dan and Steve from Car Central have been writing chapters of it, and Sean from Women's Rugby Treehouse's dad was one of the main writers and editors as well. Sounds actually fantastic. There's links and stuff on that have been shared on those socials. Won't plug up too much of that. We also have Dragon's Lair, which regularly doing interviews, Saucepans and Sidesteps, the Ospreys the Welsh language pod that Nick's on. I've still haven't heard an episode because I still can't speak Welsh. And we also have the SLC podcast for the Level and Below. And then our sister channel, which already had a couple of members, Global Game Line. You've got the URC Rewind, which is currently Six Nations Rewind, and had a very good laugh at England's expense this week. We've got the Interpro show, the bit of an animal for the South African listeners. We've got the Women's Rugby Treehouse, which is back, and I'm actually quite grateful because I may have made a joke about Yap City, but a 2 hour podcast is perfect for my drive back to Devon.
it's literally 2 hours of nonsense. You're warned in advance.
And the best thing is that was one of the short episodes. We also have Mall Street Journal when USA's happening. David Lawrence of Scrum the Earth is located on there. Hugh has moved the top 14 French Digest on there, which is always a good listen between him and Maz. Because we don't get as huge amount of French rugby coverage over here, so it's always good to find about the gossip and such. And yeah, and if you want to buy some merch, if you're watching on the YouTube, there are links popping out all over the place to buy t-shirts, hats, and things with different random slogans that you hear from all the pods. So enjoy. What are you waiting for listening to me? Go like, subscribe. More importantly, go onto YouTube and watch this video again. Pick from the start. I think you only need about 2 minutes and it counts as a view.
Yeah. And send it to everybody you know.
Yes. Absolutely everyone and their dogs. Just put the screen in front of a dog and see how they react. I would actually and film it because I really want to know what happens.
Molly quite likes watching podcasts. I've stuck it in front of her before.
Well, she liked Dragon's Lair and Cara Central because blue and yellow are two colours dogs can see.
Yeah, it's why she likes Gwalia, and she also likes Leinster, the Leinster piss kit.
It also makes her feel like she's not the only incontinent one.
Do you know what? I've been on 2 pods in the last week, and both of them have mentioned Molly's bathroom issues. So clearly,
I have a
need to
toddler.
stop.
I genuinely empathise. Anyway, so we'll move on. We're going to have a little bit more rugby chat, which I know is controversial on a rugby pod. So, as we've mentioned, Gwalia and Brython, we had the big derby.
We did.
We got the wrong result.
We got the right result.
We got the wrong result.
Well, so it ended up being 7-0 to Brython. It's actually the first time that Gwalia have played on grass all season. Fun fact. Pitch was a bit churned up because there was a women's international football match the day before. So if you go back and watch highlights, for example, and you see massive FAW branding everywhere, that's why. So pitch was a bit churned up, and he still had like the football lines on the ground. So that caused some confusion sometimes. So I saw a couple of people kind of mention that. To be honest, it was exactly the type of game I was expecting from Brython and Gwalia, where they've had derbies before. It's been not pretty, and it's been heavy on the defence. I think the only try came at like 34 minutes in the first half and then nothing in the second. It was a really, really good try. However, Brethon did leave probably like 3 or 4 tries on the pitch that just weren't finished. For our own fault, it was just those last passes didn't go to hand. It was over ambition, things like that. They could have kept it tight. Um, it's just been something that we've dealt with all season. Just needs to be tightened up. Gwalia, on the other hand, really, really struggled. I think their defense was quite good, but their attack really didn't come alive until like the last 10 minutes. But by that point, Brithon knew that they had to have the win. And they had the best goal line D I've seen in ages in like the last 5 minutes. It was absolutely incredible, which ended up leading to a knock on over the try line by Allow Pierce, which ended the game. Um, yeah, incredible, incredible game, although quite ugly, but it was fun as a fan, I think. It was good to see the girls play each other. As we go into, there's no game this week, but next week it means that both of the Welsh teams are in the playoffs, which is not something we get to say particularly often, that all the Welsh teams are in the playoffs, but it's good to hear nonetheless. Both will travel to Ireland. Brithon will face the Wolfhounds and Gwalia the Clovers. I don't think it's been announced where the games are yet, but I would not be surprised if they are a double header because that's something that the IRFU loves to do. It's not something I particularly understand because they're supposed to be holding up different areas of the country, so why would they be double headers in the same place?
Yeah, why would you have a double-header derby thing set in the capital city? That sounds like a stupid idea. No country would ever do that.
No, but what I don't understand, right, is that they'll have like so the Wolfhounds are Leinster and Ulster, and then the Clovers are Munster and Connacht, but they'll have a game up in Belfast with the Clovers. Well, the Clovers fans aren't going to travel all the way, are they? So I just think it's dumb. Anyway,
I mean,
um,
again, wait, what grounds have Brithon played at in the last 2 seasons as the home team?
yeah, we have played in Cardiff, but
And I'm pretty sure there was a home game at the Dragons in the first season, like the first season of Brithon. Let, let's not go into
yeah, let's not get into
unions and
logic.
glass houses.
But we'll see what happens there. Um, hopefully, I mean, Brithon are facing the Wolfhounds, who are obviously back-to-back winners, etc., etc. But we have already beaten them this season. Um, the Gwalia and the Clovers will hopefully be a close game. I really, really hope that Gwalia get their players back from the PWR for this game, but we shall see. And then the only other bit of women's news, which you won't have seen anywhere because the WRU didn't post it anywhere, but the under 18 girls went out and played in Italy and won 32-28. I believe that was on Saturday. But again, it wasn't posted anywhere because why would anybody care? Why would anyone want to know? So thank you very much to the parents who posted about it because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think that's all our women's news. Just to remind people, once County Challenge is done, we will still be covering women's rugby when the Women's Six Nations kicks off on the 11th of April when we host Scotland, and we'll be getting a fair bit of hype for that. Obviously, if you want more in-depth women's news, please do check out Women's Rugby Treehouse because it'll be Hattie given even more license to go.
It will just be me chatting absolute shit and probably a bit about Costco as well.
It was interesting to find about some of the Costco dealings as someone who's considering getting a card, but
Do you know what, Harley? We can take this off air, but their nappies very cheap.
oh, we've settled on one where the boy doesn't blow out. They ironically rascals, which describes him quite well. Anyway, so move it. Try and get back. Let's get us back to rugby. So we're going to host Italy on Saturday. We're the middle game in Super Saturday. So Italy coming up back off a historic 23-18 win, I believe it was, against England. So I think the important question we need to ask ourselves is, how long did we all laugh at England when the final whistle blew?
It was stunning. But I have to admit, there hasn't been as much sort of cope as I'd want to see from England fans online. They've been pretty quiet.
I mean, as someone
I
who works with a lot of English people, I haven't heard it. Most of whom don't really talk about rugby. The amount of stick what we got after the first weekend of Six Nations, and I've had absolutely none today when I came into work.
It's just, they've been so quiet.
I just, I don't want to sound all boring here, but I think the result probably got to be put into perspective a little bit out there in that, you know, Italy have now beaten everyone in the Six Nations. That's what we want them to do, isn't it? But, become that competitive team that we always thought they would be. It's taken them 26 years to do so. Hope it doesn't take us 26 years to get back to where we were. And I'd make the argument it's probably the best ever Italian team. Out in Rome, they'd already taken Scotland. Not the cleaners, but had beaten Scotland at home as well. So yeah, I'm not overly surprised, to be honest. And I've heard a lot of stuff online and listened to a lot of pods lately. Oh God, where have England gone? They're rubbish. Steve Borthwick should be sacked. Well, after Wales, they'd won 12 games on the spin. I don't think you become a bad team overnight. They're not playing particularly well. Don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, we played in England that had a bit more time together than us probably, and we're just a little bit further down the line in their progression than us. But yeah, I think it's more testament to Italy than it is a negative on the England side of things. I don't know what one of you guys think about that.
The only thing I would add is that we've had to listen by many Welsh fans how wonderful the Prem is and how much. And I've always maintained I'm quite neutral about an Anglo Welsh. I can see benefits, but this idea that it was a much higher standard than URC has been blown to pieces. They've now suddenly become environmentalists, which I do get because obviously there's a lot of travel involved. We only actually go to South Africa as the Dragons will be doing on one trip, and that's to come. But I do understand that argument. But the argument that suddenly the Prem would be a far higher standard has been blown to pieces because I thought England they went into this game with a game plan. It was boring as hell. It was dire. Spencer's good at it, but it was really around winning the scraps off the aerial kicking. And for 60 minutes they did that, and they looked as if they were going to come out with a 7-10 point win. And then the heads went. And I don't think Italy played that well. Perhaps we'll talk about their strengths as well, but emotionally and physically they did enough to win the game.
And I actually think it's a good thing for Wales, if I'm honest, because they celebrated like they just won the World Cup. So I'm assuming they're still on the piss at this point.
I hope so. I hope they're still on the piss up until Saturday morning.
A couple of them went on Instagram Live, and obviously were then told by whoever it was from the Federation to get off because they were going absolutely wild. And the videos are currently doing the rounds if anybody wants to find those. But yeah, England were beaten by an Italy team who were primarily made up of the 13th and 16th teams in the URC.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, and this is why I think we can do okay against them this weekend. I think they would have had a massive energy dump, and ultimately they're probably seeing it as they've achieved something this Six Nations, which they have done. Good on them. But they got to get emotionally. They've got to get back up for it now on Saturday, which
it'll be tough, isn't it?
It's going to be tough. I'm not saying they can't do it, and they're a very good rugby team, especially with Menicello and Brex in at the centres, and obviously the scrum's doing bits at the moment as well for them. Ferrari on the tight dead, is it?
But I did hear just before we came on air that Ferrari's out for next week.
Oh, if that's the case, perfect. I wish him a speedy recovery and all that. But yeah,
I think it's the loosehead side. I think I'm slightly more worried about.
Yeah, but as a unit, they've got a good front row.
Yeah,
they've got a good front row, and then I think also just to give them some credit, the Canone brothers, so Lorenzo at
Yeah,
second row
yeah.
and
Mm.
is it Nicolo in the back row?
Nicolo.
It might be the other way around. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, I think it's the other way
Um,
around.
I- they're really, really great at something that Dan's talked about a lot, which is just their work rate and their drive. Like they are two of the most passionate anthem singers on the planet. And they celebrate a win like nothing else. And you can tell that what, going out there means the world to them. And I think they've really, really sort of bolstered the team emotionally. And I think when you have players like that, it makes a world of difference. Um, we've had them for Wales in the past. So yeah, I think they're two of my favourite Italian players to watch.
The other player I really like, obviously, Manoncello is a fantastic. I mean, we need to shut him down. But I think Zuilani at 7 is a really good flanker as well. Huge work rate. So if with Ferrari not playing, we can shut down those two, and neither us or Italy score many tries. I think they've scored. I think they've scored 6 tries, and we've scored 7. So it's probably going to be a 12 try bonanza on Saturday.
Mm. I
Uh,
have.
I
Oh,
think it'll
sorry,
be a
Nick.
close. I think it'll be a close game, and I think kicking will become important.
Mm.
Where the kicking conversions be probably 2, 3 tries max each, and I think penalties, going back to the old days where you can kick your penalties, might even
Mm.
play a factor in the win or not.
I have one last thing to say about England, which is sort of relevant to us playing Italy on the weekend, which is that England went for a quite heavily rotated side, and some people saw it as, oh, they're kind of pressing the emergency button after so many losses, and other people were saying that it's a rotated side because they're playing Italy. But I think it's kind of proven that actually you have to play your best side against Italy now. It isn't like before where you could put out a B team or a development team. You have to play your A team when you play Italy because they're a middle table team, if not aiming for higher. So the old days are over.
And
Mm.
remember, England only really did that change team because Borthwick panicked
Well, yeah,
after
that's what
two
people
big
think.
loss. I think it was more about that was more about England trying to get some sort of response out of their lackluster performances than necessarily underestimating Italy, which they did. But I mean, Wales know harsh. I mean, and certain Mr. Pivac, who's going to become a lot more intimately knowledgeable about Italian rugby, knows to his detriment the cost of having some hubris towards Italy.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
like.
as Nick pointed out, I think it's we've got probably the two worst attacks in the
Well,
Six Nations squaring off.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. I quite like Italy's attack, if I'm honest. I think
Yeah,
they.
but it's really good up until the bit where you score points. And if you look at how much they've scored over these games, there's not a huge amount of difference between what we're scoring and what they're scoring. Like we both, our best score for both is 23. We've both been scoring sort of about 12 to 17, with our worst being 8, 7, or 8
Yeah, but
this tournament.
we concede in mind, which is,
Yeah,
and
I
we success. You have a look now. We pointed out that our defensive flaw was on the weekend 10-12, right? Or 9, all right, 9 as well, but 10 and 12. Um, we've got to really make sure that we deal with Menoncello and Brex on the weekend. Otherwise, they will have a field day. They play good shape at the back. With lead runners and men at the back. We really struggled with that against France. Um,
Yeah.
and if if we're going to have a chance of beating them on the weekend, we've got to shut that down. You are right. If we can shut them down, I think they'll struggle with a plan B. But unfortunately, I would say that our defence has been somewhat leaky of late, and we need to stop them scoring 4 tries,
Oh yeah.
because I would say their defence has been better than ours. I know they lost to France, but it was only 30 odd points conceded out in France. Obviously,
Mm.
only 20 into Ireland. Yeah, and
yeah,
obviously they won their other two
and
games.
they've won the other two. So attack may win you games, but defenses win you championships and all that sort of stuff. So maybe when it comes down to it, whilst the attacks are very similar in strike rate, is their attack further ahead than ours in its development?
I
and
mean,
it's
to be
coming
fair,
up
you'd hope
against
so.
yeah, of course you would, yeah. But when you're coming up against a defense like ours that's still in transition, so we need to make sure that we're competitive at set piece. We win our own ball. We don't concede easy entries into our 22. We shut down the centres, and we win enough of the kicking battle. If we do that, we can win the game of rugby. I think it'll be as simple as that for Wales on the weekend.
Yeah,
One
true.
final thing is that Italy, obviously, they'll probably have Paolo Garbisi at 10. He's not necessarily the best goal kicker, whereas I think all three of our 10s that we've got are significantly better goal kickers. So, like Nick said, where it could come down to that could be really could be the deciding factor because it depends on which way Garbisi's blowing that day.
I
Just
do
going to
also
that,
kind of feel like we should be a bit braver as well. Like we've been going for posts a little bit more. I would like to see us at least have a go
Yeah.
at the drive before going back. Yeah, sorry, Nick.
no, just going to. I don't think, as we've sort of discussed off air, I don't think there's going to be many changes in the team, and I think probably that's right. I think the more or less the people who started will start. I suppose the one is if Sam Costello is truly fit, he'll start at 10.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. I think that, but I know we can talk about picking the team that we'd pick, but I think in actual fact, based on the last two performances, they kind of earned my trust a little bit. I think they're improving.
Yeah,
So therefore, if they're all available, they all get in. But I would make that change for Costello at fly half.
yeah.
Other than that, I'd keep them the same. Obviously, Mr. Beard was as dynamic as ever off the bench.
Didn't do anything wrong.
Let's
I think
let's
he
not hey,
had.
let's not go there. I'm fed up again. Let the bombs in the post from the Beard supporters club. So
Is
Uh,
Nick the head of the, or is he just the secretary?
no,
no,
I'm just. I'm
he's all
not.
right.
I don't.
All right.
I've said before, Beard is his strength. He won a line out. He carried okay. He made his tackles. He's not the most dynamic player. And the thing is, the player I'm looking forward to seeing in the future is Teddy Williams, but he's
Mm.
unfortunately injured.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I say,
yeah.
I don't want to have a go with Beard's impact on the bench because I don't feel anyone particularly had. May arguably Nicky Smith, but I don't think anyone really had. So we didn't use either Kieran Hardy or Jared Evans. It was nice to see Beard coming on with an actual amount of game time as well. Mind, Cracknell
I
came on
thought
quite early for Wainwright. I thought
I
he
thought
was pretty good,
I
but
thought Cracknell made an impact. I thought Smith made an
I mean,
impact.
he did. I think he did end up towards either joint top or sec or outright top of our carries. But I feel
Yeah,
that's almost more a sign of how much Ireland had the ball in the first half. I mean, and to be fair, Ireland are quite unique in teams in modern rugby where they'll quite often just go to a high possession game, whereas most teams
yeah.
don't want the ball.
No, no, low phase count is low risk rugby. I would say though that the use of our bench, and it's an interesting point you made there. Um, the fact that Hardy and Evans haven't entered the fray tells me we're still lacking a bit of depth and trust in certain positions. Clearly at halfback,
Hmm.
and I would say that's been reflective in our performances. We haven't had anyone to come on and sort of change the picture or add something different. Now, for me, Jared Evans could have added a little bit of zip to our attack last
Hmm.
week, which is why I'd keep him on the bench again this weekend,
Mm,
if I'm honest, because I think he'd be better off the bench compared to Dan Edwards coming off the bench. I think if you're going to play
agreed.
Dan Edwards, he starts, so he can settle you into a game. But yeah, more, and I know that Jared has had time off the bench, specifically against Scotland. I think where obviously was it Scotland or France? Sorry, where where he did get us ticking a little bit. But it's the scrum half thing for me, and I know it's Thomas Edwards. He's by far our best player at 9, but we've got no one to do anything a little bit different, have we? Because as we've discussed previously, I don't think his box kicking and his game management is necessarily the strongest aspect of his game. He's a very good running and attacking threat, gets the game going, good zip to his pass, etc. But maybe it would be handy if we did get into a lead on the weekend against Italy to have someone who's going to come on and kick those tram lines, that's going to be able to kick well, that's going to manage the game a little bit more on our terms and at our pace compared to what Thomas does. So yeah, it's a little bit of a worry for me that we lack in that area a little bit, at least in the short term, whilst some of these youngsters come through.
It was the thing that kind of baffled and slightly annoyed me when obviously Thomas gives away, frankly, quite a thick yellow card. For, for the shoulder barge. Um, and I felt like Wales are losing a bit of control there, and they had the perfect opportunity to bring Kieran Hardy on and to do those things because I've much maligned Kieran Hardy on this pod and the media, but one thing I've always given him credit for is he's a very good game managing nine.
Mm.
So if you want someone to just put their foot on it and get through, all right, and just calm things down. I mean, we were still within 7 at this point.
Mm.
Well, let's take a breath. Let's get territory. So if you're going to if you bring in Ellis Mee off anyway, so, I mean, as great as it was for Hennessy to get his first cap, the way the game was going, he wasn't going to do anything really. We were just panicking too much. We're at a point. That period was basically the only time Dan Edwards consistently got the ball because for whatever reason Thomas Williams does not want to pass to him. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's been an argument on camp or whether or he thinks he's in the wrong position. That's something that the coaches need to sort out because if you're removing your key playmaker out of the game, you might as well just not. You might as well just say, "Bugger it, we're having Joe Hawkins at 10 and play with 14 men," because that's effectively what it amounted to. It goes back to the thing of we got to find a way to get him in. Obviously, in Ospreys, you find Jack Walsh steps in and does an awful lot of like the 10 shape organisation, and then Dan Edwards pops up in the 15 channel, and actually it does work very well for them. It's actually Dan Edwards has scored a lot of very nice tries by popping up almost in that channel and running and hitting where he thinks he can make the most impact, and other attacking systems do. If you've got a dual playmaker, this sort of thing you can do. France run that sort of thing quite well with Ramos and Jali there. Obviously didn't work too well against Scotland. So yeah, so it does bother me, but I mean, at least we capped Hennessy, so he's not going over to England anytime soon. But as I said, we didn't really do it in a position where I think we could judge what was going on there. So I'd like to see him on the bench again, just to see if we can get him something meaningful to play.
Yeah, well, I don't see it. I don't see it changing. I don't see there any need
No.
need for it to change either. So, whilst it's boring and people are probably expecting us to have a bit of a debate about it, I think when you break it down to the nuts and bolts of it, they've improved. They've improved week on week on week, and they got a little bit better. And we should probably throw a little bit of trust in their way and see if they can finish off the campaign.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'd be tempted is almost a tactical change. If you're going to have Beard as your replacement lot, you're having Cracknell as your thing, Nicky Smith as well, actually, is things. A lot of those players aren't dynamic ball game changing. A lot of them are very, very good at grinding through the game. And if we are ahead, then, they're the sort of players who you'd want to see now to win. I'd be tempted to make our backs Cardy, Dan Edwards, and Owen Watkin. And let's have plays. Dan Edwards, I know his kicking it's been a bit up and down, but he still knows when to kick for the touch. And so I think that could be because I feel like almost Jared Evans and Kieran Hardy are two very opposite players. And that could work quite well, but it could also backfire massively. You have a controlling 9 and a 10 who wants to fizz it out.
Yeah. The only other thing that I consider is swapping Rhys Hammett back to the wing.
Would you put either me or Adams there, or would you drop one of those down?
We haven't got a specialist fullback in the squad, have we?
No.
Tom Rogers.
He's not a specialist 15.
He's a fullback.
Literally.
He played there. Like, this is an argument for the Welsh Rugby Union here. Somebody needs to have a word to Dwayne Peel. Scarlets have got 6 games left. They're not going to finish top 8. Somebody should say to Dwayne Peel, pay Tom Rogers at 15. Johan Nichols has played more at 15 the last 2 years. Do we want him at 15? I don't think so.
I don't want him on the pitch for the Scarlets, let alone playing 15.
But my point is I think it's valid. Somebody needs to have a word with the Scarlets. We see Tom Rogers as a future 15. Can you please play him there 3 out of the last 6 games?
Well,
Well,
I
it
mean,
won't
it's
be the
basically
one that's on Friday, but
it's
or
please play.
release him and let him play there.
Oh, it should say, please play this player who has spent his whole time developing in the academy, and when you let him go to bring him back, spent the whole time playing at 15. Started off playing at 15 until Gatlin decided Blair Murray was a fullback, and
Hmm.
that's when it changed. And at no point has anyone kicked. It's a bit like the whole thing of, oh, we want Mason Grady at 12, and Cardiff went, no. Scarlets could have gone, no,
No,
but they didn't.
but we didn't.
But we can talk about it though until the cows come home. I think I don't. It's not going to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we had last week is
What we're
unless
going to
there's
get this week.
yeah,
Other
unless
than
there's
Costello, maybe if he's fit at 10.
yeah, absolutely injuries. I think that might be the only tactical thing. And in reality, the way they've been building, they'd be probably crazy not to do that as well.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely it's a winnable game for us. You know, they've had some of these players now have had this will be their fifth game together. So you know we should see another improvement again. So yeah, that's kind of my two penny worth on that. I know it sort of blows the the topic of debate out of the water, but I think that's what
I
they'll
agree.
go with.
There's nothing to be gained.
No.
No. So I think that's so only really thing I want to ask you about this game now is any prediction? Anyone got a prediction? Doesn't have to be exact score, can be a sort of vague line, can just be the winner.
I'm going Wales by 4.
I'm going to predict that I'm not going to enjoy this game.
Wales by 2.
So I'm gonna give you two scenarios. One is what I think is gonna happen, and I think it's gonna be Italy by 3. And it's gonna be a painful 3. It's gonna be a last minute try 3. What I'd like to happen is Wales to win by about 40 odd, France to beat England by about 50 or 60 odd, and based on points difference, England end up finishing with the wooden spoon.
See, the problem
But
is
there's a 100 point points deficit to go through there, and I don't see it happening.
no, and the other thing is like if England beat France and Scotland beat Ireland, that means that Scotland win the Six Nations.
No, see, I get what you're
And
saying.
that would be very cyclical considering they haven't won since 1999. And then obviously
Yeah, they
Italy beat them
basically what
this
they'd have
year.
done is they'd have won the Five Nations again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that Italy would have denied them the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
But
I can't see Scotland. My understanding is I saw somewhere today Scotland they lost like 5 or 6 players.
yeah, they're like on last legs. Like they've lost their whole second row, their first choice second row, their backup props.
See, look, if they had 4
They've
teams
called
to
up
choose
Alec
from,
Hepburn.
they had 4 teams to choose from. They technically have 8 professional locks, wouldn't they? More? No, sorry, can't do it. Yeah, they would. They'd have 8 professional locks plus
And
all
that's allowing a non-Welsh qualified. Or non-Scottish qualified, because most Scotland players are non-Welsh qualified.
Have they phoned Razzie to see if he's got any hiding in the Scottish South African cupboard, or Australia got any that they can borrow for the weekend?
Oh. Now the best they could do was the Scarlets developed Alex Craig.
Oh, there you
And
go.
they've got Alec Hepburn this weekend as well for their front row.
We'll go into that. But yeah, but I also would say is that the more cancelable one is how funny would it be if we can continue saying this was Scotland's best chance at winning the Six Nations and they still couldn't do it because they lost to Italy. Sorry, Leslie and Toby of mine and Hattie's mutual group chat.
I suppose though, in theory, like Ireland have got something to play for, haven't they?
Well, yeah, triple crown, and they have a chance at Six Nations title.
And just to say, it's been a good Six Nations in that respect, hasn't it? We're going into the going into the final weekend, and a lot of teams got something to play for.
We did predict it wouldn't be a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
And no, I think you're right, Nick. And especially if Wales beat Italy on the weekend, then everyone's won a game.
Yeah.
And it's been competitive, and shows why it's the best rugby tournament in the world.
And also, there's one thing that does give me slight hope about the Italy result is, so other than obviously thrashing us, for the teams that England and Wales have both played, Wales have lost by a smaller margin than England. So I'd love that to continue. Either we beat Italy or that thing, because it would just.
Just a shame we shipped 48 to Twickenham, isn't it?
That was an awful performance, wasn't it? There we are. We
God.
moved on since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Anyway,
have.
so we as we've been alluding to, there is one bonus URC game for that we have to be interested in today for this weekend, and that is Scarlets going for the round 2 fixture away to Connacht. Losing yet another player. I suppose if he's not in the squad, then you can get him back, but he's missed the training with Alec Hepburn. Alex. Is there anyone left to travel to go away that doesn't need a permission slip from the school?
Well, no, because surely Carwyn Leggett-Jones is away, so I really don't know who will be playing apart from Lousy and Ball.
I'm going to jump in here. So the way the WRU runs is with the under-20s is that if the club need, like the pro sides need an under-20s player, they will be released because it's seen as better for the development to play a professional rugby game as opposed to an age grade, which leads to issues with the as we saw with Paul Lloyd-Lucas with the under 20s. So I suppose you've got someone like Stefan Manu who can cover 12 and 10, but that's by the by. So how are we feeling with this one? Because Connacht haven't really lost anyone to Ireland.
I mean, I said it was it last week before, that I feel with the Scarlets that really we have to treat our last load of games as just how do we plan for next year. So if it means, although I'm on the fence about Carwyn Leggett-Jones playing for the under-20s or playing for the Scarlets at the weekend, I think if we're planning towards the future, I think, do you know what, have him and Archie play together, get game time together, and I'd much rather bed that all in than necessarily go out for a result. Hugh said earlier to me that he thinks it'll be Scarlets by 2. I have truly no idea.
I don't think anyone does. It depends on
It's such a what's the weather going to be?
Odd scenario.
Yeah,
if go away, it will be wet and windy.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, who's actually gonna get on the plane? Are we even going to have enough players to go on the plane? Is the plane going to be allowed to take off?
I was going to say, is the plane going to get cancelled again?
So, yeah, I really have no idea.
Well, unfortunately for you, Hattie, for the sake of our prediction league, you're going to have to come up with an idea and make a guess.
Do you know what? I will go with HD Rugby's official prediction of Scarlets by 2, and if it's wrong,
you're going to blame him.
I'm going to blame you.
Fair enough. Nick, what do you feel?
I think Connacht will be had a win. I know they're very inconsistent. I'll go Connacht by 5.
Dan, yourself?
Connacht by 10.
I like how even their inconsistency doesn't overcome the Scarlets' overall shitness this season.
Well, I just
despite Connacht being incredibly inconsistent as well.
Yeah, but it's personnel in that, you got people in the national squad. Crazy time to be playing it. In effect,
I do hope that, although I think we probably would have heard about it by now, but I do hope that some of the Wales players who've literally just been holding tackle bags get released back, but I doubt it will happen.
Well, they'll want TRs for the weekend, see? So
where are they travelling
to? Millennium Stadium.
I don't get why they're carrying 4 tight heads, 2 of which are Cardiff, which means we've only got 1 senior tight head to go to South Africa next week. But yeah, that's the thing. And just to round things off, I predicted Connacht by 4, which is why you might have saw me grimace when Nick announced his prediction, where he seems to always be within a point of me somehow.
And most importantly, because this is a catch-up round, we will have all played 12. Ali, am I right?
Yes, this will take us all up to 12. So the other 2 out fixtures in hand, which is a South African derby. Apologies, I can't remember which one it is. It's from round 8, that's done, and then the other one is Edinburgh Ulster.
Yeah.
So that'll be it, and then we'll be up to a full 12 leagues, there'll be no sort of trying to mentally stick 4 or 5 points here or there, I guess,
Yeah.
based
Or in
on
the
it.
prediction league.
That's all he cares about.
In prediction league, it doesn't matter. I can come a game in at a time. It doesn't.
Just ignore him. Just ignore him.
That most people do.
No.
I fully
No.
understand.
Of course, from that for the last 6 rounds, if Nick doesn't get the prediction spot on, I'm going to take 5 points off his score each
That's
week.
cruel. That's cruel.
That's harsh but fair.
Only because Nick is the one who keeps nagging me about the prediction score. And it's like, yes, you're still winning, Nick. Well done.
Apologies. If I start going wildly out, I'll soon shut up, won't I?
Well, that's the thing. You actually relatively boring your predictions. You always try and keep them quite tight and only a few points. So, which is sensible. Anyway, that's before we go on yet another tangent, because this has been 1 4 tangents. Whereas I feel like we need to be a bit more Rhys Carré and bouldering straight through the line and palming off island wingers and, let's be honest, making them rather slow, which was quite impressive because Rob Balogun is very much not a slow player.
Brilliant try.
And that's just enough Rhys Carré mentions for us to justify making it part of the pod title this week. So with that, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Hattie. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, me, because I deserve the most praise at all for being the one who has to do the hot seat. And Nostar.
Nostar.
Nostar.